crucial now. Oh.
Okay. Good morning, Broncos. Thank you for joining us. My name is Taylor, representing the ASB Leadership Program, and I am your junior class president.
I am Nathaniel Aguilar, representing ASB and your commissioner of PEP.
Today we are joined here by active duty members and veterans of the U.S. Armed Forces. Throughout this past week, we have been highlighting our appreciation to those in honor of Veterans Day for the people who have served a greater purpose than themselves.
This appreciation extends beyond this past week. So without further ado, let's meet our heroes.
Thank you. My name is Desiree Zadrozny. I'm Site Secretary, and I served in the United States Marine Corps Reserves.
Hey, hello, everybody. I'm Staff Sergeant Ismael Rodriguez Aparicio, better known as Staff Sergeant APA. I'm a local Marine Corps recruiter. Been in for about 8 years, and I'm glad to work with your school.
Good afternoon or morning. My name is Staff Sergeant Munoz. I'm a National Guard career counselor, and I've been doing active duty for about 8 years in the National Guard, the remainder of time, going on 20 years of service. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Mike Gildersleeve. I was a prior Marine, and I served about 11 years, including Desert Storm, and now I'm just kind of hanging out as a retired guy.
I'm Jeff Burgos. I'm a current JROTC instructor here at Vista Murrieta High School, and I'm retired 22 years Air Force. Thank you, guys. My class is actually here. I'll give you a cake later. 22 years in the Air Force, retired, and enjoying every minute of it.
My name is Greg Scallion. I was in the Marine Corps. Served 4.5 years. I got out right after Desert Storm.
And I'm Suzanne Gonzalez. I'm an English teacher here on campus, and I enlisted as a high school senior and did 11 months on delayed entry, 6 years regular Army, and 4 years in the reserves.
Good morning. My name is Angela Valentine, affectionately known as Chief V. I served in the Air Force for 29 years during Desert Storm, and I have been teaching Air Force JROTC since I retired in 2013.
Hey, my name's Damage Controlman, First Class Petty Officer Pratcher. Been in the Navy 7 years, going on 8, right? And I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. We'll get into more of the questions later on. Memphis.
Good morning. My name is Machinist Mason Class Petty Officer Serta. I've been in the Navy about 6 years now, and currently I'm recruiting billet.
Mic check. All right, so I'm Coach East Fripp, Coach Fripp with the varsity girls basketball team. I'm a teacher's aide here at the school, USMC, Marine Corps, retired 21 years.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be here surrounded by these individuals who have dedicated their time towards the forces. So thank you guys again.
And then I'm just going to quickly introduce my father. My father was in the Marine Corps as well. He was a gunnery sergeant for 18 years.
And then I'd like to introduce mine as well, who served 20 years in the Marines as an air traffic controller. Okay. So we will pose one question at a time, and it is open for anybody on the panel to respond to however they feel appropriate.
Alrighty, let's get started. Okay, question 1. Can you tell us about your motivation to join the military and what inspired that decision? Whoever would like to begin can begin at any time.
My motivation to join the Navy was basically just a good step into life for me. Growing up, I realized during high school that college wasn't a good stand for me in terms of like just my pursuit into education. So I looked into other options, and it was between the military and trade schools. That being said, when it came to which one branches I picked, I went with the more technical side with the Navy and the Air Force, and the Navy ended up being the route that I went. And that being said, it's given me great life values that I've learned just because of what I decided to do.
I ended up enlisting, kind of surprising to most people. I didn't seem the type to enlist, but I was really eager for some life experience. I had never traveled anywhere. I had never even been on an airplane. So as self-serving as my motivation was, I, of course, had a deep-rooted loyalty to this country and patriotism, but I was eager for some life experience. So that's one of the things that drove me into the military.
So I would just say for myself, my answer is not that cool. Pretty much didn't want to go to college. I sat here, wanted to see something different, so I chose the military. And then that aspiration that happened, 9/11 happened, so I'm dating myself, and that's solidified why I went into the Marine Corps.
I think for me, I grew up in Texas, fairly sheltered. I think joining the military was something I saw as a way to get out of that, get some more exposure, see other things than what I'd been exposed to, and just develop a broader spectrum on life. I don't think I developed that motivation for the military or that love for it or that appreciation for it until after I was in.
For myself, I graduated high school. I didn't know what I was doing. I was working as a manager at a Domino's Pizza. I thought I knew where I was going in life. I didn't want to do college either because doing 4 years of high school was enough for me. It was difficult. And a friend of mine actually approached me. He's like, "Hey, why don't you come join the service?" But that wasn't really an option for me because I didn't know. I was capable to do that. But until I went to the recruiter's office, talked to them, and I shipped out, I actually got that feeling of service of pride, to serve this great country we are right now. That's why I continue now to do this, going on 20 years, and hopefully I can go to, who knows, 25, 26 years from there.
And for me, unlike Fripp here, I did want to go to college, but it wasn't an option because financially it would have been a struggle. So I thought the next best thing was the military. So I signed up. Just like her here, I was on delayed enlistment for exactly 11 months. I graduated 1 year early after my junior year, so I kind of waited. I signed up, but waited until I was of age to go in. So I went in, and it fared well for me. I got 3 degrees while I was in the military on Uncle Sam's dime, so I didn't have to pay a cent. So my reason for going in was exactly that, was to get an education. So.
My reasons were a little bit different. I grew up in New York City, and I had a child at a very young age, and I didn't want my son at that time to be grown up the way I grew up in New York City on the streets. So I decided that, to get out of New York City, that was a path for me, was the military, and that's why I joined, and I enjoyed every minute of it and don't regret one aspect of it. And like Chief, I had, got 3 college degrees, even though it, took me forever to almost graduate high school.
Playing past the body. So I kind of grew up in the Midwest, probably unique to you guys here, not understanding that. It's a little bit different, a smaller town, and same thing of wanting to get out and kind of travel and do whatever. I did good in school, but I just looked around and was like, college just didn't seem like the thing to do. And I just want to get out and do everything. So when you chose the military, I got to go all kinds of different places around the world and, do the schooling at your own pace whenever you wanted, and you kind of figured it out. There was no rush to do it, so it kind of fell into place. I said, I think 2 of the panelists would say, hey, I've gotten 3 degrees over that 20 years. So you can keep going with it, but if you're just like right now you don't have that choice, go ahead, try something new, try something different. Why not?
For myself, I wanted to serve our country, and I've been able to do that for the last 7 years, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Mine's a little bit like Mr. Scallion, but exactly opposite. I wanted to get out of Chicago. I wanted to get out of an inner city. I felt like there weren't a whole lot of opportunities, and I could foresee the cycle of, I had 2 older brothers, so I could see the cycle of people staying behind and doing the same thing and getting caught up in a lot of bad things. So I thought, well, let me get out of here, and it was a very easy decision. My older brother had already enlisted, and he gave me no information, but I just said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I kind of slapped the table very quickly without knowing a whole lot about it. And I had the best and worst time of my life.
And then for me, I didn't really have a plan, right? I had good grades and stuff, a couple scholarships, but I didn't like writing essays and stuff in school. So I was like, I want to go to college to play sports, but I don't want to do the essays, right? So I was like, let's take a different route. Talked to all the branches, Navy seemed like the best route for me. I like to travel, didn't mind being around water, and here I am 7 years later, so.
Okay. Thank you to everybody who shared and everybody for sharing. It is awesome to hear the different motives and the paths that it took everybody on. And just by a show of hands, how many of us here have considered joining the armed forces or the military? Wow, that is awesome to see. So for our second question, taking a deeper dive into that topic, can you guys describe your first day of boot camp or basic training?
Oh, I can start with that. It was extremely tiring. Okay, it started out early morning, maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. Those of you who go in the military, you'll hear that. Hurry up and wait. Everything is move, quick, and then you're sitting for hours upon hours. But it was like that first day is like you're in an assembly line. It's next, do this, take a shot. Next, here, get your uniform. Next, paperwork on top of paperwork on top of paperwork. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress that comes along with that first day because it's like the unknown when you first go that first day of basic training. And again, for some people have never been away from home, never even spent the night over people's houses. That was me. I was that sheltered kid, so I kind of never, it was a first for me. All this was new, so it was a very scary time. But once the week was out and everything settled down, then of course my fear, my anxiety, my stress, those things also settled down and it became normal. So after that 7 or 8 weeks, whatever it was back then, I made it through. So, but that first week first day is stressful, something I never want to do again and something I have never forgotten to this day how I felt on that day. So that's my story.
Pick him up, put it down.
That's it.
My first day, I remember 2 things. It was almost like a flashback now. The yellow footprints and a lot of yelling and screaming. It almost feels like everything just exploded. People are yelling at you from everywhere. Do this, do that, and there's no time to do it in. Everything needs to be done within a second. It's just a lot of chaos. Like she said, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, anxiety, and a lot of control. Somebody tells you exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and whatever it is that you do is never fast enough or ever good enough.
Character building.
For myself, it was like a movie. I had a pretty good recruiter, so he basically told me exactly what was going to happen. And we live in a different age, right? Information. You have a supercomputer on your hands, so I basically knew everything I was going to go through. And like they said, it was like you can never move fast enough. You can never finish whatever you have to do fast enough. But it was a good time. It was cold though. I was not expecting to be cold. I didn't have a blanket the first 5 days, and that was my fault because I never said anything. I just okay, I'll just lay here, go to bed. It's fine.
One of my lasting impressions of my first day was leaving Los Angeles Airport in January from California. So I have always been in Southern California, but I arrived in Philadelphia and then went to New Jersey for my training. Just that span of an airplane ride was a shock, leaving from what I was wearing, a t-shirt, sweats, and brought a windbreaker in case it was chilly, to arrive oh my gosh, I was so unprepared for the cold. And it was biting cold. I couldn't wait to get my uniform, my cold weather gear. It was such a shock to me. Yeah, that was it.
All right. Anyone else like to say anything? No? All right. Moving on to question number 3. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during your time in service, and how did you overcome them?
I think for me, my biggest challenge, this was later on in my career, was being able to balance military life and family life. So my husband and I are both active duty, and we had a young son at the time. So and we worked different schedules, some 12-hour shifts, and so it was a challenge trying to manage, like I said, family life, home life, take care of our son to where he wasn't always at the babysitter, and wasn't spending much time with either of us. And when I would deploy, and then my husband was left as a single dad, and vice versa. So what I did to combat that is, at one point I applied for what they call a special duty assignment. So I was able to get a special duty assignment, which kept me stationary, so I didn't deploy, or I wasn't working 12-hour days. So that really helped for some, to establish some stability in our lives. So that was what was most challenging for me, was trying to balance the two.
Okay, so being probably the old guy here with whatever, so I was out of the military before most of you were born, but different stuff. So a lot of that changes, but I think it's talk about the family and how that is with everything, how that was. You guys have phones, you have whatever. I mean, I would go on deployments and different things to do. We wrote letters, different things to do, and it's back and forth, and you had to wait days for that to happen, this, that. So life is a lot different for probably most of the guys that are up here at active duty stuff doing it now, that you have that communication. But being able to communicate with your spouse, your family, and if you're gone, whether it's a couple weeks or a month, or if you went on like a 6-month deployment or different thing, or if there was a conflict, things that you had to do. So you had to overcome all that and learn how to deal with the time and make what time you had important, and not squabble about the little things or different stuff. So I think the military in general has gotten a lot better. My son-in-law is an active duty Marine with my daughter here now, and they do a pretty good job, and he's been deployed back and forth and everything else, but they work at it. So it's everything that you have to do, and I think that's definitely something you have to take into account for your relationships and how you're going to work through those things and overcome those things.
One of the challenges for myself was when I was coming up in the ranks in the military, promotion was very difficult, because you're like in a room with all these people. So pretty much they say here, everybody's going for the same rank, right? Going to get promoted. How are you to make yourself more marketable and be that one person on top of everybody else? So that was a little struggle for me, but knowing that, the hard work that we got learned from the military, being punctual, just, apply yourself to be that one person, to be above and beyond, be that one-upper. Do all the classes you can, volunteer for anything that you can do. That way people can see who you are. You can demonstrate to them that you are that person that needs to be promoted to the next rank.
Okay. Would anyone else like to share?
I think the biggest thing for me was learning how to be independent, right? For me, I joined straight out of high school at 17, thinking that I didn't say I was very close with my folks, but at the same time, they were still always there to support me. So going into a whole different part of the world that I'm used to, because I was born and raised here, LA, right? Came down to SD when I went to the Navy, so I didn't know how to buy a car, I didn't know how to get a house, I didn't know how schools, I didn't know how to do any of that stuff by myself. And yeah, I had my phone with me and all the time, but I didn't have the best way to find knowledge than just through my folks. So I think that was my biggest struggle. But the Navy's definitely helped me guide me in the right direction, but that was definitely a headache for me.
For me, I think the challenges were when you had to make those quick decisions that kind of put people in situations, in a life or death situation. So just for an example, when I was stationed at the embassy in Oman, and we were doing a motorcade for a 4-star general right after 9/11, and so security was really tight for us. And I was behind the vehicle that the general was in, providing security. And the guy next to me was CID. CID is the Army's version of the FBI. And somebody cut in front of us, just a regular local Omani cut in front of us, and he told me to take him out. And I felt like it wasn't the right decision. Like, I'm gonna, put my life, his life, and these individuals' lives on, in jeopardy because the CID guy told me to take him out. And I felt like, he was just cutting in. He didn't know we were in a motorcade. So basically, I didn't follow his order. I went around, got back, and, it happened to be nothing. But that quick decision that I made, sort of probably saved my career if I would have did something wrong, because I probably would have been kicked out of the country, all that kind of stuff. or it could have been even worse where it was a bad guy and he did something to the general and I didn't follow that order. I probably wouldn't be sitting in here. I'd be sitting in, a jail somewhere. So, just those quick decisions were very, very challenging, and you just got to kind of go with your gut.
I think the hardest thing for me to adjust to when I went into the military is life's not fair. You put in the work and you still don't receive the benefits sometimes. But I think even in the failures and not receiving the things that I thought I should have been entitled to, it makes you work harder. It develops a stronger work ethic in you. It develops the ability to overcome. And the military loves the phrase, adapt and overcome. And I think those are the things that the military drives into you, instills in you, that makes you a better person later on. But you have to experience those failures in order to get to that point.
Okay. So that has shown me whether you face the challenges of personal challenges, it'd be independence or decision making, or those around you, your family, your peers, the people you are working alongside. You guys have all built resilience, and I am so beyond proud of you guys, and I thank you guys again for that. So moving on to the next question, how has your military experience influenced your perspective on leadership and teamwork?
I guess I'll go first. So it's essentially taught me to be fluid when it comes to leadership. No two individuals are the same. So a lot of people go by the golden rule, right? Treat everybody how you want to be treated. I go by what I call the platinum rule. Treat everybody how they want to be treated. No two people are the same. So essentially, know your individuals, your subordinates, and tailor your leadership to the individual and to the unit.
I would say the biggest thing that taught on leadership is when you're a leader, you also got to be a great follower. I learned that. I was the captain of my boxing team, co-captain of the basketball team. So getting into the military, I already thought I knew what a leader was. But then I found out, no, I didn't, because I was that hard-headed Marine that did not like following orders because I always thought I had a new idea or I thought I knew better. But then I learned you have to learn to follow. So from that perspective, as I learned to follow, I started getting promoted faster. Then I figured out that was the game. Be a better follower than you are a leader.
Basically, I'll just say overall that good leadership is essential to the success of any organization. So as long as you remember that, then you'll be successful. A good leader is one who can encourage everybody else to come together and give 100% for the mission. So good leadership is successful to, or is essential to the success of any organization. So whatever it is you're involved in.
I say for good leadership, you need to be able to be patient and adapt on the drop of a dime, right? Because things aren't going to go the way that you want them to go all the time. Things happen. Different obstacles present themselves. So for you to be able to be patient and adjust and adapt makes a great leader for not only yourself, but everybody else.
So one thing I learned in the Army is becoming a subordinate leader, knowing the people who you're working with, like their ups and their downs. If they need help, make sure you're there with them to take care of them. One thing I was taught before is always do something that, like if you have somebody else do something that you haven't done before, I'll volunteer first, because then you really can't tell them how things are done. So being that well-rounded NCO, well-rounded non-commissioned officer, will help you out a lot in life.
I'd just like to add on to that. I think good leaders model the behavior that they want. I think a lot of good leaders don't talk about what they do. They just do it. That gives you the opportunity to see what it is that they do, how it is that they want it, and then gives you the ability to model that behavior. I think that's one of the characters of a good leader.
Is there anyone else that would like to add on? Anyone at all? All right, perfect. I just want to say that that follows our class motto. So even after high school, you're still doing the leadership, or class, character, leadership, attitude, scholarship, and service. These are all leaders. You can be a leader in your own classroom. All right, let's go on to the next question. Can you describe a memorable experience from your time in service that shaped who you are today?
I have a really unique experience to share. It really did not have anything to do with my participation in the military, but when I was 19, my first duty station was in Germany. I wanted to go visit my boyfriend, who was about 80 kilometers away, and I had missed the last train. And so desirous of seeing him, I opted to pay for a taxi to travel the 80 kilometers. And because it was going to be such a long journey, the taxi cab driver asked me to sit up front and chat with him. But he didn't speak a word of English. And I had had 2 years of high school Spanish, a semester of German, a semester of French in college, just that I did on delayed entry so that I could move about and talk with Europeans when I was stationed there. And in that more than an hour drive, he and I spoke nonstop, but not a word of it was in English. And that was one of the most rewarding cultural experiences I've ever had. I so enjoyed that, and this is years later, and I will never forget it. It has stayed with me. That deep appreciation for that cultural experience that I shared with him, I bring into the classroom as I meet students and families from different cultures and speaking different languages, and develop an appreciation from about where they're from and what they bring, and value every bit of it.
I think for me, everything that I've learned in the military that I can bring now to a JROTC classroom is valuable for the future. All the cadets that I have, I try to give them the experiences that I have. Like my sophomores, for instance, they'll do public speaking. I didn't get an opportunity to do public speaking until I was E4 in the Air Force, and that was my first opportunity. So now I get the opportunity to teach them as 10th graders going forward and building upon that before they're 23, 24 years old and doing it for the first time. So being able to, everything that I learned as an airman in the Air Force is just getting passed along, whether you go into the military or not in JROTC.
Nearly everything you do in the military is going to be with others, and those are my biggest memories, is getting through something difficult, working together, then coming back from a field op or a training exercise, and the absolute biggest friendships I've ever had in my lifetime, and the celebrating, whether it was breaking bread together or having a drink together or just sleeping under the stars. Like, it was pretty magical, those little things, and just sharing that with very specific people was, it's lifelong memories.
I'd like to add on to that. One of the best memories in the military I have is weathering a cold Norwegian night in the Arctic and essentially sharing a bowl of chili with a bunch of guys. There's no better meal than meal shared with people that you love.
I think my memorable experiences, even like we're the Army, but we work with the Marine Corps, work with the Air Force, the Navy, just have that camaraderie that we have, that same background of being in the military. Like, you always have that friend, regardless of where they are, in the Air Force or the Marines or Navy. But you always butt heads, right? But no matter what, in the end, we know what we've been through. We know who we can talk to. And to me, that's a big memory thing, is having friends from all around different places.
Thank you, guys.
I'd actually like to share something. So a little fun fact, also a memorable fact. My dad was in Afghanistan when I was being born, and he flew back to be there with my mom while I was being born, and he had to go back to Afghanistan. But it was really nice that he got the opportunity to see me. It was kind of crazy. That's just something that happened.
Thank you
Really
for
sweet.
the personal anecdote, Nathaniel. And following the next question, what is a valuable skill that you find, or a valuable lesson or skill that you learned in the military that you find most useful in your civilian life?
I think for me, like especially as engineering, we're constantly under like pressure in the bottom of the boat and stuff like that. I think it's just to learn how to listen and just go into it. And I really carried through that through most of my life. But usually somebody can tell me one thing, I can usually just carry it and handle whatever needs to get done. Rather than just like 5 tasks, I could probably get all done because I was able to just listen and just turn it over basically.
So the military is a really fast-moving profession. You know, we have a lot of suspenses and a lot of timelines. So for me, I would say it's time management is what I learned when I was in the military. So, and I kind of still take that with me to this day. So I think it's important when you have to get a lot of things done, you have to find a way to manage and balance those things. So time management is it.
For myself, I think mission accomplishment. When in the Marine Corps, we try to sit there and there's no mission too small or too big that we don't want to tackle. So mission accomplishment, as long as you're accomplishing every mission you put forth in front of you, I think that's the biggest thing I took away from it.
I think one of the things you get is that no matter where you're from, or no matter what you did, you can see from the difference of us on the stage. One of the first things you learn, or at least in Marine boot camp, was you were all the same. You weren't whoever, pick a race, pick whatever ethnicity. You were light green, you were dark green, whatever, but you were still a Marine, whatever it is to do. Those barriers get smashed. And it's like you're here to work together and do whatever. If you threw a problem at everybody on the stage here today with whatever we're doing, we would probably take a few minutes because it's different things, but we would assimilate to whatever that was and figure it out and come together and solve that problem. That's one of the things you're going to find from the military. You can come from different places, from Louisiana or here or wherever. When you get together, all those perspectives fall into place, and it works. So that's something you definitely learn to deal with.
The biggest one for me was communication. I realized that for like mission accomplishment and everything that you do in the military, you have to have great communication because you have always these bosses above you who you need to communicate to. You need to communicate to all your subordinates under you, and then you have your peers who are about the same rank or same place or position where you're at, and you need to communicate them as well. So I think communication has been the biggest thing for me that has allowed me to be successful as a teacher and as a citizen, most of all.
I'd say for me it'd be prioritizing and being more initiative, right? Because everybody has wants and needs, but at the end of the day, what needs to be done should come before what you want to be done, right? I'm a firefighter on the ship, so if there's 2 different fires breaking out and I know one is bigger than the other, then I need to prioritize that I put out that fire first rather than going to the smaller fire that can be taken out with just a simple extinguisher.
I think the biggest thing I got out of the military was take care of the people who work for you and take care of the people you work with. Sometimes just, hey, is everything okay? Because when people are satisfied outside of the job and the responsibilities that they have to take on, it makes them more focused in doing the job. Sometimes it's just the little things that make life important and make you accomplish that mission a lot better. I think that's the biggest thing I got.
Okay, thank you guys. And we're just about to wrap up this panel, but before we do so, we will ask the last question. As us civilians, we would love to help and support you guys in any way. So how can civilians support the veterans or even veterans transitioning into civilian life better? What can we do for you guys?
This is a hard one, but I think people have a misconception of Memorial Day, and a lot of people say Happy Memorial Day. It is not a happy day. It's a very sad day to remember those that are no longer with us. So I would say maybe just remember that, maybe share it with others if you hear it. you don't say Happy Memorial Day, especially to a veteran or active duty.
I would say treat us like normal people. We're just regular people, regular guys, regular women and stuff like that. When we take off the uniform, we live in society, we interact with you guys, we teach you, we mentor you guys. There's really nothing different about us besides the fact that, we serve the country. So it's like normal around us.
So for some veterans, I think it's a challenging life change transitioning back to civilian sector, especially depending on how long you may have served. Like some people only serve 4 years. Some people like myself serve 29 years. So I would say just to be patient with them as they do transition back into civilian life, because so many people have, again, depending on how long you served, you could have a real strong military mindset. So when you come back in civilian life, things are done so differently. It's a little bit more lax, less structured, less organized. So you're looking for that when you go into the civilian sector, and it may be missing. So you have to allow them time. So you give them patience, give them time to adapt to their new normal, if you will. So.
I think one final thing I would say is the reasons we all went into the military are very obviously different, but we all stand here as proud servants and proud veterans. But I would really like to see the politics removed from military service and the criticism that sometimes does come with it. And I think that people forget that, and this gentleman said, we are all people. We put the uniform on, we take the uniform off, and we live our lives. But I think that the few people who embrace some kind of political ideology with military service need to remember that.
Okay, so that marks the closing of this panel. Thank you guys, students and staff, and of course, those of you who came out here today and took time out of your own life to help us understand better your role and how it was being a part of the forces. And of course, the last question was very important for us civilians. So honor Memorial Day the way it is honored. These people are people as well. They are not some outer civilian from a different planet. They are, let's say, for example, they could be your friends. They're your friend's family, your own family. Your teacher even, as we have staff, your coach. Maybe your teacher's relative or your family member, or etc. And of course, it is a hard transition, so please be mindful to those who have served and taken their time. And Nathaniel?
We would like to extend our appreciation to everyone in your classrooms. You guys all participated in our 2024-2025 service project. You guys are all creating things for our veterans. This is for all active duty members and our veterans. Thank you guys all so much. Can we get one more round of applause for our veterans and active duty members?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.